Good room right here. Come on, grinders.
How was that? After you, Jerry.
Don't mess with Darren.
No. I know.
Yeah.
Trying to get like 4 guys.
There you go. Zavan was saying the other day that obviously, and we've talked about this a million times about all the different things he does, but there are times when he said, hey, this is going to be kind of hard to pull off, and you just kind of look at him and smile and go about your business. Is that kind of how it goes?
Well, I mean, I'm looking at this guy, and he's like one of the most intelligent guys in the room, and he's 6'5", 270-some pounds, and runs 4.5. Right? I'm like, what do you mean you can't do it? Like, you got everything you need. But, yeah, I do put a lot on Zavan's plate and a handful of other guys due to combination of intelligence and skill set. And Zavan says that, but he's down for anything, you know.
With Max Melton last year, was there a moment, or maybe it was during the offseason, where you saw the light kind of turn on and you had that confidence, belief that he could be a starting quarterback in this league?
You know, I don't know if it was a light turning on. I think just his play has steadily gotten better, and he's showing up every day to work and has improved. And he's still got, a lot of improvements to make, but I can't say there was one moment. Max he's been a pro since he's been here, so it wasn't like he couldn't figure things out and then the light turned on. He's gradually, gotten more comfortable schematically. Technique has improved, but yeah, he's doing some good things.
What has camp been?
How's camp been?
For Max specifically.
Similar to a lot of guys is there's really good moments, and then there's moments that, you can teach off of and grow from. And part of that is just competition every single day. You're not going to win every rep. I challenged him to not get a ball thrown on him today, and then we were in man, and he got picked, and he tried to accuse me that I purposely set that up. But he's steadily improving every day. One thing we talk about is failure and agitation leads to a lot of growth. So it's good to compete against the offense. You got to try to win every rep, and when you lose them, you got to get better from those.
What has Will Johnson showed you as camp goes on that allows you to believe he can be a guy who can play a lot of snaps?
Yeah, I think first and foremost is just his ability to go out there and execute, understands things really well, and then, corner when you're one-on-ones. And he's doing that. So he's showing that he can go out there and hang with some really good receivers, and he's got improvements to make still.
There's some times when it almost looks like he's running the receiver's route for him. What is it about him that enables him to do that?
That's number one, your brain, but there is a certain element to a corner that feels comfortable feeling the stems of routes, having an idea of how routes deployed that isn't necessarily the guy that he's on, and having anticipation for what's coming, being able to cover a guy in certain coverages with his eyes back to the quarterback. So it's a combination of he's got that intelligence to be thinking ahead, and there's just a naturalness to it as well.
Game by game or at the end of a season, are there numbers that you like to look at to define your defense, or is it all about
wins and losses? Yeah, wins and losses. But you can use analytics in a lot of different ways to find growth. You know what I'm saying? Ultimately it's about wins and losses, and then we're going to always look at takeaways and explosives because we feel like those are two very winning statistics. But you can look at a lot of different areas. Like when we self-scout, we're going to pull analytic reports, and it's not just necessarily say that that's the end-all, be-all, but it's a good reference check and go see if it matches up with what you're seeing on the tape. If you feel like you were low in a certain category, like is it showing up on the tape that, okay, we're not good at this because of this, or is it maybe coincidental, well, these 3 plays happened because maybe it was a mental error or we lost this, whatever. So it's, I think that's not necessarily a real thing. So you can use those numbers, I think, through a lot of things. You look at takeaways, where were we with punching the ball out, strip sacks, our recovery rate, things of that nature.
like the most classic, basic thing would be yards allowed, points allowed? Like at the end of a year,
Yeah.
look at where you guys rank in those things?
Yeah, but ultimately it's about, winning. And, sometimes certain games you might give up a certain amount of yards in the run game or the pass game. Points is the name of the game. So I'd say that points one is critical.
Nick, I heard Coach Debo the other day say that you would have a Shrek and donkey.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. What is that?
He's the guy making waffles in the morning, and you're the guy telling him to calm down. Is that a thing?
I haven't seen Shrek, so I guess I don't understand. I don't get it. He makes waffles. That's the movie. I don't know, guys. I haven't watched Happy Gilmore 2 yet. How am I going to put Shrek in front of that?
Yeah, Shrek first.
Shrek first? No chance. Huge Adam Sandler guy right here. Yeah. After that, I'll watch Shrek. Yep, that'll take priority before I watch practice. Yep.
Speaking of big dudes
Like Shrek. Jordan Burch showing a lot of movement this training camp. What are you seeing in his improvement the most?
Yeah, I really wanted to stress him just getting off the ball and, accelerate. I want to see that burst. And I feel like he's taken a step there. And I think it's physically he's improving. He's poured a lot into that part of his game. But I think also when you get really comfortable with what you're doing, you'll see guys start to play a little bit more fluid. And that's not necessarily a physical thing that they've changed. Sometimes it's the mental. So I think it's a combination of both those things, and he's flashed some really good things.
When you have, in this case, defensive linemen like Walter and Justin, who missed a handful of practices, well, obviously no one's missed them all, but missed a lot of practices, and you've got such a deep room, do those guys start falling behind? Nolan might be a bad example because he was a rookie anyways, but do you fear that because you're so deep and everything, there's a missing element there that they're going to have a tough time making up?
I mean, both those guys, and honestly, a lot of guys on this defense, if they miss a practice, they are staying on it and working extra hard schematically to make sure that they know it. I always think that there is an element of going out there and executing it. So, whatever they missed schematically, maybe it was installed after they were out. They'll need those reps eventually, but those guys are pros. And so I just focus on, hey guys, what can you control today to maximize yourself? And that's what we got to focus on, not the external factors of missing. So those guys, whether or not they need that rep to see it and then become a master of that technique versus that specific play, whatever it is, they're going to get it done.
How has JT's camp been?
It's been good. Honestly, I've been just thinking about those middle three with JT, Buddha, and Garrett. It's just there is a high level of consistency and reliability. And I'm just all three of those guys I'm relying on. And JT specifically, he's such a dynamic safety because I feel like he can cover slots, he can play the deep zones, and then you can get him down there in the box, and he's gonna thump some stuff, and he's gonna be a good blitzer. So he's playing at a high level, which he's been playing at for a long time.
Speaking of JT, that free safety look you like with JT, Buddha, and Danger, obviously like it for a reason. What are some of the things you really like, and what enables you to do as a play caller?
It allows you to be very flexible with where you deploy pieces to either take away people or take away scheme. So. I can present some difficulties from an offense perspective, but what I love about it is, you got all these guys that are so versatile with what they can do and so intelligent that you can deploy them in several ways to utilize their skill sets that best fits the opponent that we're going against. And we try to do our best we can to give a complex presentation, yet simple execution for those guys.
You guys throw a lot deep in offenses during games. Do you ever sit back and celebrate when you out scheme another coach, or that all you're throwing in another team they can't figure it out sometimes?
I don't know if I sit back and celebrate. I think you got to ultimately look at each game and talk about what we did good schematically and what we did bad, because that's how you ultimately grow from that. So, if we did something good schematically, you got to bank it and understand why it was good, and the next time that opportunity is available, you can use it. If it was bad, you got to ask yourself why it was bad, and you got to correct it, or you got to use it in a different way. And so on Mondays, I'll go through that actually with the players too, because I don't necessarily believe in just getting up there on a Monday and say, here's what you guys did bad, here's what you did good. They need to understand that, as coaches, we're not perfect either. And so there's things that, hey, guys, we could have done better with this, schematically, or how we practiced. We didn't really get these looks that we needed to see for the game. Or maybe it was, I'll also go through play calling. Like, they need to know, like, when this was a bad call. Like, I didn't like my call out there in the 2-minute drive that we just had on third down, and, like, I'm going to talk to the players about that. Just to me, it's everyone is accountable, players and coaches. And ultimately, like, accountability for us is cool because everybody knows that players or coaches, when we didn't hold it to our standard, we're going to go find a way to correct that. So I think it's good from, both schematics or even the schematic execution of the players, or maybe it's technique. You got to point those things out. Like, yeah, you can celebrate that, but then you also got to say, what do we need to improve on?
I think sometimes when depth gets tested, someone in your seat is forced to get exotic or draw some things up to cover up for some of those things. But when that depth gets replenished, as it appeared to be this off season, how do you look at that? Do you look at it as like, okay, I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore, or do you look at like, watch what's coming?
I think it always goes back to our guys and what puts them in position to win the game. Go out there and make plays. So if sometimes that's pulling back, that can be pulling back. If sometimes that is, let's get crazy with it. Let's get crazy with it as long as it's putting those guys in position to go win downs. Never just doing things to do them because you feel like you want to out-scheme someone. It's about putting players in the best position to go win.
With the additions of Dalvin and Calais up front, can you get a sense yet for how that's going to impact what you're able to do, especially in the run game?
That's a great question. Yes and no. Because I see those guys do really good things in practice in the run game. Honestly, that whole group right now, I like where their run technique is at. I challenged Debo, or the donkey from Shrek, as he likes to go by. I said, let's get closer to mastery with some of these run techniques. And just eyeballing today, I thought it looked good, but you ultimately can't really gauge, like, did James Conner fall forward for 4 yards and they got 6 on first down, or did we stop that run for 3 yards? So it is hard to gauge sometimes on how much our run's hitting. It's easy to see like TFLs in practice, like you're hoping, okay, that guy got through, he hopefully makes that play. But it's those ones that are, the guy's getting thudded up somewhere at, 2, 3, 4 yards. What are those runs going for? So that's what I really appreciate with preseason games. You get to have a good feel of, what are those runs getting them yardage-wise.
Coach, thank you.
Appreciate you guys.